Please stand by for our next program. This is All India Radio. In the national program of Talks Tonight, we bring you a discussion entitled India's Strides in Sports. The participants are Shri Norris Pritham, veteran sports writer and analyst, Ms. Rachna Govil, Executive Director, Sports Authority of India, Ms. Meenakshi Pahuja, former long-distance swimmer and sports educationist, and Shri G. Rajaraman, senior sports journalist and writer who initiates and moderates the discussion.
Good evening and welcome to this special program. I can't tell you how excited I am. I'm meeting an old friend of mine, Norris Pritham, a very senior journalist, has been an athlete in his time. And there's another athlete here, someone who has won the Arjuna Award for being a distance runner, Rachna Govil. She holds one of the top positions in Indian sport. She's Executive Director with the Sports Authority of India. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
And then I have got the very young Meenakshi Pahuja, who used to be a champion swimmer in her time and now is an academic. She's encouraging young people to take to sport and helping them understand how important it is to develop their character through sport. So thank you very much, Meenakshi, also for joining us. Let me start with you, Rachna, since we are going to be talking about India's strides in sport. Where does India stand as far as the sporting firmament is concerned as a Sports Authority of India official?
Well, as far as Commonwealth is concerned and Asian Games is concerned, of course, we have been winning many medals. In the Olympics, yes, this time we got only 2 medals. But then one thing that was important was that a contingent of 119 qualified for the Olympics. That was something great. And for the Olympics, qualifying for that event, more so in the game of athletics, that was great because qualifying for the athletics is not easy. Lalita Baba, she did very well. You have this walker, MS Rawat, he got 13th position. So overall, I feel comparatively there is a huge improvement in the performance. But yes, at the Olympic level, we have to compete.
Norris?
I think I partly agree with Rachna. Yes, there is an improvement. But the problem is that in India, we tend to see the medals. And when we say so many people have qualified, the automatic question would be, how many medals are we going to win? And the SAI, she's an SAI officer. The SAI officers have been saying that we will win so many medals. And if we win only 2 medals and come back, I think then the expectations crash. And the people on the street, the commoners, I mean, you and I know sport. Coaches know sport. I know that athletes have done remarkably well, even though they have not been medalists. But the people who don't know, they say only 2 medals. So I think sending a large contingent is a good thing because they have qualified. But at the same time, it has a negative also because then it reflects very poorly of the contingent. This is what I feel.
Right. And Meenakshi, as somebody who's been on both sides of the fence, where do you think India stands at this point of time?
Well, I surely believe if I have to compare from my time of swimming internationally for the country, I really feel if today, as you mentioned, that I'm looking after so many sports and I look for the university sports also, I really see a lot of difference. Somewhere I agree with Norris what he's saying that yes, there is definitely, I would say, somewhere broad basing of sports happening. Young people are not only taking up sports, but yes, fitness as a whole is also coming up. Like Rachna ji was just mentioning about, let's say, the performance at the Olympics. But let's not forget our Paralympians. They've also done extremely well. And as a country, I see somewhere that ideology of people coming forward and engaging themselves into sports. I think that's something, a difference I'm seeing, which somewhere looks pretty positive to me.
That's a very fair point you make, Meenakshi.
I want to add something. Norris told that sending a huge contingent may have not a very good impact. But then I feel a time was there when our athletes just targeted to go for the Olympics. They just wanted some more participation. But today our athletes are targeting for a podium finish. So that mindset has changed is important.
That is exactly what I was coming to, Rachna. I think there is a change in mindset. And I believe the 2010 Commonwealth Games that we held in Delhi has helped bring about a little bit of the change. Athletes now want to win. Also, I think very significantly, whether it's Malleshwari becoming the first woman to win a medal, whether it is Rajyavardhan Rathore winning a silver, whether it is Abhinav Bindra winning gold, or the 6th medal that came in 2012, I think the belief that India can go out and do well at the Olympic Games and at the World Championships is enormous. Norris, do you agree with that?
Yes, people are aiming for medals, as Rachna says, even I say that. But winning an Olympic medal is a tough call. a player goes sort of emotional and sentimental. He says, yeah, I want to win a medal. Everybody wants to win a medal. But we should be realistic also at the same time, because when 5 athletes might come to the expectations, but there are a whole lot of people who went and people have been criticizing. So you have to find a balance somewhere, or maybe before the contingent is going, at least the official authorities should not project medals and medals and medals. They should say that fine, we are so many people have qualified, they are doing well, and we hope to do better in future. That's all. When we say numbers of medals, we will win, and when we come without medal, and then the problems start.
It's by creating expectation
Too high.
that disappointment seems to be a result.
Yes.
Even the government is under enormous pressure. It is spending crores and crores of rupees on elite athletes. It is helping them train. The government invests enormous amounts of money in elite athletes, and nobody can ensure performance except the athlete himself. Give out 100%, ensure that you give 100% on the day of the event. If you have done that, I think people like Norris and I will be happy with the performance. Take Deepa Karmakar, for example. She finished 4th in the Olympic Games. Remarkable performance in vault. Now, when you give your 100%, you're happy. But when you are an elite wrestler and you have been projected as a potential second-time medalist and you lose in the opening round of your wrestling contest, then there is disappointment because people don't believe you're 100%. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, this is
Norris?
what I'm saying. An athlete says he is 100% fit does not always mean he's 100% fit. I'm not criticizing an athlete. Meenakshi has been a swimmer, I was a small-time runner, Rachna was a runner. We all feel that we'll win. Somewhere we know that maybe I'm not that good. But going to Olympic is such a big thing that everyone says people hide injuries and go, and then in the Olympics or the Asian Games we realize that that person was injured. So this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that don't send the athletes, but don't send them with winning medals, and at least not with gold medal. This is what I'm saying. So we have to be realistic, and even if 200 people go with qualifying, absolutely send them. Why not? If they have fulfilled the qualifying norms, international norms, they should be sent.
Meenakshi, what is your own thought?
I was listening to Norris and Rachna. I think somewhere if we just review the whole Rio Olympics in athletics or wrestling, let's accept the reality somewhere, Norris, that our athletes did qualify and reached out. Look at our runners. I don't think so. It was a pretty bad disappointment.
No, I'm saying that if they have qualified, they send them, they have done well. But to expect them to win medals was not right. This is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they have not done well. They have done extremely well. In fact, I was the only journalist in Rio when Rawat Walker was taking part, and he did extremely well. The Chinese were asking me that who is he and why is he doing so well? You are an Indian. I told them, no, we have been doing walking events for so many years. And he said,
but I think
So
to
we
some
really
extent
agree
it's
on
good.
that.
No, we all agree that we did well.
No, perhaps
But-
what
But
Norris...
I think to some extent the expectation is good, because let the athletes also have a sense of responsibility that they need to give something to the country.
perform.
They have to go all out.
I totally agree with you. My only concern is that when we people who know sport and we project our good athletes or top athletes as potential medalists, that is wrong. This is what I'm saying. I'm not criticizing the runners or the wrestlers or the boxers. They did extremely well.
Agreed.
But what I'm saying is, when we project them as winners, forget about us. Our writings, whatever people like Rachna or the DG or the SAI or the minister says, that goes for the consumption of the general public. This is what I'm saying.
I think as Rachna pointed out earlier on, at the Asian Games level and at the Commonwealth Games level, our performances are still good. We are still not world class.
Yes.
With many sports.
But I really want to say something about the Commonwealth Games, since this has been a part of our conversations again and again. Look at the factor of 101 medals, and how many of those medal winners are continuing sports? Are we able to sustain our talent? I think that's also a very important point to be discussed. Are we sustaining that?
If it is not happening, why do you think it's not happening, Meenakshi? Let me start with you. You win a medal at the Commonwealth Games or at the Asian Games and then you fade out. I don't necessarily agree with that. But if it is true, what is the solution? How can we keep athletes back in sport?
I think it's very important if an elite athlete who's gone up to that level of winning a medal for the country needs further support. There should be a system to actually promote that particular athlete to that level that somebody is able to sustain. And let's assume I win a medal for the country. Everybody is just forming that opinion, oh, I've got this much of cash reward, I've got a good job, but now the pressure starts building up because I need to maintain my performance to actually not only deliver at this level but a higher level of expectations. Where those kind of grants and support system is going to come in. I think that's also very important.
I think the first question that comes from what she says is who actually wins the medal and who actually goes to that level. The thing is, we have to see at the grassroots level from where the talent is coming up. Now the question is whether a girl is allowed to go for sports. The parents don't allow. So that is one issue. Then how long that girl continues for sports? I mean, the society will have to change. The society will have to take a very positive approach towards it. The moment the girl is of a marriageable age, the family pressures are there. And so is also with the boy. So many of them I have seen that they come to the national level or maybe international level, and by that time they start phasing out their family pressures and so many things. Another issue is that in our society, who are from a fairly good economic background, they don't like to put their children into sports. They prefer sports like tennis, badminton, the elite type of sports. So it is always mostly from poor economic background who goes into sports like athletics and all. And then their priority is to get a job. They are not actually thinking in terms of achieving a higher standard in sports. And you can't help it also because finally they have to fetch bread and butter for their family and for themselves also.
What Rachna is saying is she has highlighted a very good social point of view. But going back to what Meenakshi was saying, specifically for the Commonwealth Games, see, the thing is we have to understand that the standard of the games in the Commonwealth Games is much lower in certain events. And even within disciplines, like for example, track and field, the sprints are weak, but the long distance running is extremely high. So if an Indian wins a medal in Commonwealth Games in say 5,000 or 10,000 meters, we can expect him to do well in the World Championship and Olympic Games. But if a sprinter wins a medal, then he's bound to quit because he knows that he will stand nowhere against the Americans, the Germans and other European countries. So we have to see this also, that in Commonwealth Games, all games are not equal. The standard is pretty high for you are a swimmer. I mean, the Canadian swimmers, the Australian swimmers, the New Zealand swimmers, they are world class.
And the British.
Even if we win against them. So if we do well in the Commonwealth Games, in swimming, in these events in which these Commonwealth countries are good, then we can expect a medal in the Olympic Games. So we have to be a little realistic. But this is a good point, that job employment, I mean, people leave. Why? Because there is no job.
Yes.
What do they do? Only apart from cricket and tennis and perhaps maybe in some other sports.
I think the government has come up with a very good solution now.
Change is taking place, yes.
It is still work in progress, and I'm sure Rachna will agree with me. What is happening is that the government now, at least the Sports Authority of India, wants to get into contract with elite athletes. They will get scholarships, monthly scholarships from the Sports Authority of India, which are substantial. Once that is done, I think then the athletes are able to focus on their performance. Like Rachna pointed out, and you agreed. I think the problem is social, that we are looking for first of all, the young athlete wants a certificate so he can get into a medical college or an engineering college. And B, once he's got there, he wants to get a good job. And once he's got the job, he just performs enough to keep his job. I think the hunger, that is when the real stride in Indian sport will come. When the national championships or the national games acquire greater importance. I'm sure you have seen this at the national championship. The level of competition is perhaps not as high or as intense as it must be, Meenakshi.
Yeah, I really agree with you because somewhere I think when we were playing, I really feel it was like to outshine your own records. There was so much, participation from the states and everything, but at times it's disappointing to see that people and young athletes you see at one national or second national, they're just not coming up and they're not continuing this particular sport. I think that's also very important that they continue. And they all have to take up somewhere that I have to improve upon my own individual performance. I think that's going to be somewhere. That passion is somewhere, I think, missing. Yeah.
I think somewhere we tend to mix the elite sports persons and the people who play for
Recreation.
way of life, not recreation, the people in the formative years, they don't come into the category of elite athletes, and we don't have any sort of avenue for them to turn into. Once an athlete becomes an elite athlete, the government comes with the grants and all that. But look at our school sports. 20 years ago, School Games Federation was very active. Nowadays, the weakest federation in Indian sports is the School Games Federation of India. There should be the nursery actually. That's the whole problem. We have left our schools, inter-colleges are not covered even by media because there is not much attention paid. People don't go to the schools federation game, people don't go for the inter-colleges. Somebody goes to them and tell them, I am an inter-college champion. Okay, it's a what game? This is the question
Yeah,
people
in
ask.
Jamaica.
Let me throw this to you, Rachna. A lot of us get to watch football on television. So the Cristiano Ronaldos and the Messis of the world become favorites with young players. How much of an importance do you think that Indian sports people have in becoming idols for young Indian athletes or aspiring athletes, so that we have a great culture of sport coming through?
Well, I think we still need to create a culture for sports. We don't have a strong base, and a high level performance can come only when you have the fear of losing. Whether you take Richa Mishra, I think she was champion for ages, or you take Usha, for a very long time she was national champion. The thing is, she did not have the fear of losing. We don't have a strong base. Like in Germany, they have a very strong football team. And I was told that every year there are new players coming. Now they know if I don't enter now, next Olympics I won't see. Yes. That much of fear is there. So that strong base they have. So we need to have a very strong base.
And that will come from the schools and colleges.
And in Jamaica, they have, like whenever they have these schools competitions, it's like a mela, they say. And the whole town gets collected.
I remember lots of interesting national championships where people would turn up to watch. But this was before television came in and made us watch international sport. I think very important for us not to forget our history. You mentioned Usha, for example. Milkha Singh is a legend himself.
Yes.
Gurbachan Randhawa, again, another big athlete who finished 5th in the Olympic Games in 1964, has been a decathlon champion in the Asian Games in 1962. Khajan Singh from swimming,
Yes, of course.
first silver medalist in swimming for India. I think sometimes we forget our legacy and we try to move on. How important is legacy in sport as far as the young athlete is concerned, Meenakshi? But did you feel inspired watching some swimmer, or was it because your father insisted that you swim?
I totally agree with you. As youngsters, you really want to follow what your seniors have done, and you do revisit the history of your particular sport, or let's say Indian sports, and you try to take inspiration. And I think our generation, or the younger generation, is pretty lucky, because you have so much of technology in place and better stadiums and better facilities. I know how difficult it was when I was swimming at Talkatora swimming pool those years, when it was an open swimming pool. Half of the time the swimming pool was not heated water in winters. But now you look at the stadia once it's redone after the Commonwealth Games. What a fantastic facility. I love going there.
I think partly the responsibility is the former sports persons also. Even they don't go and watch events. So where will they meet young people? There might be problem. The transport is a problem. They live far off places. Earlier Delhi was confined to a small, even for example Hyderabad, where you come from, Raja, Lal Bahadur Shastri Stadium, everybody used to come and meet there. Nowadays, I can't go back to National Stadium because it's practically no one to meet me. That's the problem.
That's exactly not as the point is. Why should we break that relationship?
Rachna,
We should
you had
continue
something
the
to
sport.
say.
I just remember when I participated in the first nationals, that was my first nationals, and I was competing with Geeta Joshi, who was then Asian Games gold medalist in 800 meters. And I was, I think 17 plus or something, and I was told to participate in under 18. But then I said, no, my coach told, no, you will participate in the women category. So that's how I competed with her. And then when I finished the race about 15 meters behind her or something, I just felt too great and I felt so motivated. I felt, okay, if I'm so new, I can do this much, I can certainly do more. So I do agree, when we compete with such athletes.
I remember in the late 60s, and when Milkha Singh was director of sports, we used to go to Chandigarh to take part in cross-country race, which the Punjab government used to organize. And what were the medals given to us? Milkha's old medal of the national championship. He had a sack full of them.
That's
and I
great.
still have one or
great.
two medals which he won in the services championship. So that was the inspiration for us. Going to Chandigarh was not taking part, but just to see Milkha Milkha Singh. And once when I shook hands with him, I came back without even eating because I said, I have met Milkha Singh. So I think that aura is also over now. It's a one-way traffic now.
I think, Norris, we have more champions now across many sports. Deepika Kumari may not have won an Olympic medal, but she's a heroine for me.
Yes.
Yeah,
Coming from the back of beyond, from Ranchi, given the socio-economic background that she hailed from, for her to go out and do well at the world level, remarkable. Deepa Karmakar, another good example, coming from Agartala, going on to finish 4th in the Olympic Games, 5th in the World Championship. Nobody ever believed.
You have Sakshi Malik.
Yeah, of course.
There are wonderful stories. The Fogart sisters have become legends already. But they have done enough to bring the sport of women's wrestling into limelight. Mary Kom, 5-time world champion, who's been mother and then went on to become Olympic medalist. I think we are making strides. We're taking those baby steps towards becoming a sporting power, at least in the region, in Asia, definitely. And hopefully in the next 15-20 years, if we keep working hard, we might get to see a clutch of medals at least, if not half a dozen, a clutch of medals at the Olympic level, because I believe that we have started investing right. We have started identifying the key sport where we can do well in the Olympic Games. And I think we are not leaving any stone unturned in that bid to get medals at the Olympic level, Rachna.
I think we need to plan in advance. You just mentioned about Mary Kom. Somewhere in 98-99, that was the time Laila Ali was doing boxing, and that was the time when women boxing was gradually starting. And the Sports Authority of India started a training center in Imphal and one in Kollam for boxing, especially for girls. And that's how these women boxers from the country have come up. So I think we need to plan in advance. There are so many new events and new disciplines that are coming up. We need to see how the states promote these sports, which are still in the infant stage, and how we can be at par when it comes to competition.
Norris?
I think we still have potential, especially in women's sport, because they are a kind of a hidden talent. They have not been given the kind of encouragement or the facilities or the social benefits or the social push which our men sports persons have been given. Take example P.T. Usha's, 1984. So many years back, just because everybody pushed her and she did well, and she was a kind of an ambassador for women's sports in India. So, and now Fogart sisters and all, and because of technology also, more and more people are talking about it. I think we have to break our social barriers, like in the case of Babita, Geeta and Ritu Fogart, because of their father, who ensured that they take part despite all the opposition in the villages, and that's what they are, where they are. And if Sakshi has become a medalist, I think nobody can take away the credit from Sakshi, but a lot more is because of the legacy. I think that legacy is there now. We have to do more. We need to do more to carry it on further for maybe better performances in the Olympic Games.
How can we have a discussion on Indian sport and ignore tennis? Because from the time Ramanathan Krishnan, Jaydeep Mukherjee, Premjit Lal, all of them played, and then Ramesh Krishnan, Vijay and Anand Amritraj came on. But I think in the last couple of decades, we have had Leander Paes as one of the shining icons of Indian sport. Sania Mirza has come through as the world number one in women's doubles. And you also got someone like Rohan Bopanna, Mahesh Bhupathi, of course, you can't forget, India's first world number one.
Yuki Bambri.
There's a lot of good young tennis players, but we have to give tennis some credit, Meenakshi, for having lifted the spirit of Indian sport at a very difficult time, given that Leander won the Olympic bronze medal in 1996.
I agree. Tennis in India is actually, I believe, the kind of infrastructure which has come in, and, former tennis players of our country have actually gone up to that level of opening their own individual academies, pushing up the youngsters. Look at the young talent which is coming up in women also. Somebody like Karman who's performing. And so many of the youngsters I see participating in representing India. I think real good tennis coming up in our country.
Norris, you were there in Stone Mountain Park when Leander won the bronze.
Yes, in Atlanta. That was after K.G. Jadhav's medal in 1952. Leander won a medal. It was a historic performance. Even then, the best thing is that Leander has carried on that tradition or that legacy of tennis, not winning the medal, but at least the game. I don't think I'll be wrong if I say that many youngsters or even the middle-aged people who are now playing tennis is courtesy Leander Paes. You earlier you have mentioned the names of the legend Vijay Amritraj, or maybe I'll go back to Mohammad Ghaus also. The people who have been doing so well in the past. So we have a legacy. The only thing is that again the Wimbledon and the Davis Cup and the Olympic, these are three different things, you know. So as in Davis Cup and Wimbledon, we do well, but we have yet to do well in the Olympic Games. And I think the day we do well, we are just waiting. I mean, in the 90s, Leandro came, and maybe in the next 5 or 10 years, if we win a medal in the Olympic Games again, I think tennis will get a major boost.
I think this is one game we have large number of icons.
Yes. India has been performing, surely.
Meenakshi, as we wind this conversation up, and it's been really pleasant having all of you here, what is that one story that will tell the world that India is taking rapid strides in the world of sport? I will tell you, my most beautiful story is about a guy called Dattu Baban Boknal, rower from Maharashtra. Hails from Nasik, which is drought hit area. I think I was one of the first to talk to him. And he once told me that he lost his father, who was a well digger. He was digging wells because it's a drought hit area, and he died digging wells. For a man to come from a village where there is no water, to go on to win at the Asian level medals in a water sport, I think that tells us where we stand as a nation. I think there are many talented people across the country. We just need to find them and encourage them. I'm sure we are doing a lot of good work already, and this story tells me, it gives me goosebumps as I'm talking to you. This story tells me that India is taking those strides in the right direction. Meenakshi, your turn now.
Why limit to one story? I would say, if we talk about India as a sporting nation, and let's just revisit India again. There is a lot of difference between India and Bharat. Let's identify that gap of India and Bharat. And whatever elite athlete you put, bring in limelight, and you revisit how the career started and how he or she went on to win a medal for the country at that international big podium. There is a story of every athlete coming, fighting all the big struggles, the economic or social barriers everyone has encountered. Difficulties are even more when it comes to our Paralympians and people with different abilities. They are also coming up in a big way and making our country so much proud. And I really think every athlete in our country has really encountered a lot of things, because India is very diverse.
I was expecting the ED of Sports Authority of India to give me such an answer. Rachna, let me see if you've come up with anything differently. Is there any one story that will make the world believe that we are taking the rapid strides in the world of sport?
Well, there are large number of athletes like Prija Sridharan and all who have come from poor economic background, and they are doing wonders. But another thing, that there is a change in the society as far as women is concerned. If you take the case of Anjali Bhagwat, you take Suma Shirur, even Geeta Phogat, everybody's husbands they are cooperating, and they are pushing their wives also to continue sports as a big change. In our society, it's not easy for a woman to come out. So that is one big change we have seen. But over the years, what I feel is that most important is the change in the mind. We want to win now as athletes.
Yes, that's becoming.
See, in 1976, when Sriram Singh was supposed to go to Montreal, he went to Montreal, but till the last moment, he didn't even know that he was going. There was a lot of problems with the federations. And when he went, he could not go anywhere to compete before the games. Imagine he was training at the Delhi's National Stadium on a grass track, whereas he had to compete in Montreal on a synthetic track for the first time. When he entered Montreal, then he saw the track, a synthetic track, in September in heavy downpour, because unfortunately I was the one who was running with him in those days, and we ran with Sriram Singh in waterlogged ground outside National Stadium in grass, and then immediately he was graduated to tartan track in Montreal, and he came 7th. It was a fantastic performance. He broke a world record, and Joan Torina, who won the medal. Now there's another parallel. In 1976 we were taking lack of facilities. Unfortunately, Deepa Karmakar in 2016 had almost a similar fate. Imagine somebody doing so well, coming 4th in a game like gymnastics, which people have not even heard of, which in literature or in when we come to preach, we say mother sport gymnastics, but there is no gymnastics in India, unfortunately. And if there she comes 4th, I think it's a stupendous performance. I would say that it's as good as a medal winning performance by Deepa Karmakar. Hats off to her.
Thank you very much for all of you. I leave the studio convinced that India is taking the right steps. India is taking the strides toward becoming a sporting nation, if not a sporting power altogether. Thank you, Rachna, for your time. We know how important it is. Norris, it's wonderful as always. Meenakshi, it's been great interacting with you. Thank you so much.
Same here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion entitled India's Strides in Sports. The participants were Shri Norris Pritham, veteran sports writer and analyst, Ms. Rachna Govil, Executive Director, Sports Authority of India, Ms. Meenakshi Pahuja, former long-distance swimmer and sports educationist, and Shri G. Rajaraman, senior sports journalist and writer, moderated the discussion. With assistance and production from Shahnawaz Khan and produced and presented by Naveen K. Gupta, this program was broadcast in a national